Hi, my loves. Welcome. And my dog is saying hi. Prescott. Yay, we're back. How are you all doing, my loves? Okay, it looks like we're good to go. I am back. I'll stop talking like I'm singing now. I appreciate your patience with me. I know you always love it when I go live. I had a few weeks to regroup, to sit with my inspiration. I went to Mexico for a week, which was amazing, and here we are. So welcome. I'm glad to be here with you. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know. Let me see. Let me extend my screen here so that I can see who is commenting. Yeah, let me know how you're doing. Welcome. I don't know if you can hear my father-in-law is here. You may hear some voices on the background, but we're building a mudroom as an extension to our kitchen. And so he's like helping, which is really cute. So anyways, welcome. And I was feeling into a topic for today, and as always, it always like just comes bubbling up in me. So what did I put in the description here? Yeah. So invitation to soften. Yeah. So let's start with that. Let's start with the invitation to soften, and self-sourcing is what I wanted to talk about too. So let's start with that. And why that came up for me was we had the full moon in Virgo this past Monday. And what I noticed for me is that I needed to just take the day and sit with my own inspiration and not be online that much, which was really interesting to me to notice it really that deeply, because this is like a cycle that you can kind of go through over and over again, right? And that is what I want to talk more about today. We'll get to that shortly. But first, the moon was in Virgo. The full moon was in Virgo, right? And she is the virgin of the zodiac, right? And actually, the word virgin comes from the word wholeness, which in ancient times meant, not needing a man, being independent, right? But how we can translate that in present time, right, is that we can self-source so much more than we give ourselves credit for. And what I mean here is that, there are many different ways of looking at this, but we so often look in the external for validation, for permission, for the next steps, for guidance, right? Whatever it is. And yes, it is really important to invest in your growth, and it is really important to have external connections and friendships. Of course, like we can't do any of it alone. However, what I mean is that we often overlook that the answers we are looking for are to be found within, right? And we are already whole in and of itself. And how often do we not listen to our own inner guidance, right? And a good coach or mentor will go there with you first instead of just like telling you what to do, right? So it's often we already know what to do next. Like we already know who we want to show up as and embody. And I often feel that we really don't give ourselves enough credit for how much we already know, the answers that we're seeking, like within ourselves, right? And one of my friends is really good at keeping the focus on me. Like when we're talking about something, we're having a conversation, he will say like, so what do you think? What do you truly like? How do you truly feel about this? And just that really simple question, it always makes me realize, and he's just reflecting that back to me, that I already do know. I already do know the answer within me. And it just brings up something that often we say, oh, I don't know. But the more that you say, I don't know, the more that your reality will, of course, be that you don't know, right? And as long as I take the time to listen, I will know what to do, or I will give myself the validation, or I will be able to give myself the permission to do the thing, right? And that's why it's so valuable to have a mentor or a coach to reflect that back to you, right? And to have really good friendships, and to ask yourself that question as well, right? And that's what came up for me during the full moon. So instead of like consuming more and more, like reading this newsletter or looking for the in the external for answers, right? Taking a step back, softening, and what do I feel or think? What do I need right now? What's my next step, right now? And it comes back to self-sourcing, finding that wholeness within ourselves and not necessarily needing anything from the external, right? And that doesn't mean that we don't need anything physically, right? We do need things on this planet. We need food, we need water, we need human touch, we need our pets, right? Like this is what I'm talking about here is an energetic concept that we don't need something or someone to fulfill us emotionally, for example. Like we can give ourselves the feelings. I can give myself the feeling of joy, right? It's just, it may be through different situations or different people that reflect that back to me and bring that out, but it's ultimately coming from me. So, right? That you get that, right? I'm trusting that that's landing for you. So that way we set ourselves free when we can do that towards our highest potential. Like we set ourselves free to self-source, right? And that leads us to our highest potential. So let me know how that's landing for you. Yeah, so it's springtime. It's spring, you guys. I already have spring flowers blooming on the farm here. Like it feels like it's a little early for that, but I guess the whole climate is just really whacked, a little bit. Everything's crazy. Everyone I talk to is like, this weather is just nuts, but let's not go down that rabbit hole right now. Where was I going with that? The full moon. The full moon was the warm moon. It's called, this full moon in March is the warm moon. And I don't know if you saw that in my post, but the warm moon means that this is the time of the year that the ground starts to soften, right? And that worms are coming up. So to me, what that means for us, right, it's that it's a calling for softening too, right? At least for me, it really does feel like that. The earth is softening, like the earth is receiving the seeds to grow new plants and flowers and crops for the season, right? I just planted tomatoes and peppers and jalapenos in our greenhouse in this soft soil, right? We are softening and receiving as well. And so I wanted to ask you, and this may be a really beautiful journaling practice for you or a meditation practice, where are you being called to soften? And where are you being called to receive more deeply? Even you can feel this need to soften in your shoulders, right? When you're working all day like this, right? Or you're like, I don't know, cooking or cleaning, or there's a lot of tension that goes on in your back, right? So even softening, it can be just something simple as just leaning back, right? Opening your heart. So for me, I got the invitation to soften on Monday, right? During the full moon when I dropped in, and I could notice that I was in this distraction phase where I distract myself from what I really want to be doing, where I try to keep myself busy so I don't have to soften. You know what I mean? Like, you get this. I'm sure you've all been here. And it's actually really, really powerful to recognize that so that you can grow through it. And it comes back to what I shared earlier, right? Instead of me looking out in the external for, like, online, for example, for whatever I want to be hearing in that moment, I recognized it. I put my phone away. I put my laptop away for a little while, and I allowed myself to focus on what I really wanted to focus on, which is writing and fueling my inspiration. And it makes such a difference to give that to yourself, because when you can do that, giving yourself what you need in the moment, coming from within, right? That's what your soul craves. So of course, it's going to be very nourishing and nurturing and expansive for you. And what's important here is, in me sharing this with you, that what works for me, right? What worked for me on Monday, which was freeing up my schedule, fuel my inspiration, writing, right? Which I have the ability to do because I'm an entrepreneur and I created this lifestyle for myself, right? It may not work for you that way, right? That may not be what you need. Maybe you need to work out more or move your body, spend more time with your family, go out into nature, call a friend and have a really good laugh, right? Whatever it is, what works for me in this case to stop distracting myself, for example, right? Could be anything, may not work for you. So that is really the point that I wanted to make today. That is the beauty of softening and receiving, right? You get to figure out what works for you by softening and receiving, because in that slowing down and opening up your heart, right, you will receive the messages and the nudges. And then the key is to follow them, of course. The key is to listen and follow over and over again. And you may need help and guidance in that, right? This may look different every day, every week, every month, depending on, you may need guidance in this depending on how disciplined you are with yourself. And when I say disciplined, I mean in a loving sense, not like, but in a way that you know this is important for your soul's growth. So if you don't do this, it's just going to keep on coming back around, right? That's what I mean with discipline in this case, okay? So you can see this in all kinds of different areas in your life. What works for me doesn't work for the other, especially in business, for example. People tell you that you have to do this and this and this. This and that way is the best. That's great. Take advice from people who are where you want to be, right? And if it doesn't light you up, marinate it with your own way of doing things, the way for yourself, right? In a way that works for you. You get to find your own way, your own journey. Trust in yourself that you will find that way for yourself, and allow yourself to rely on your inner resources for the most part, because that's how your authentic expression and your unique divine gifts are going to come out, right? Have your teachers and your coaches and the people that you follow and books that you're reading, right? And play with your own intuitive nudges that you receive. So how can you deepen your ability to receive, right? Are you also being called to soften right now, like me? And if you are, like, how are you going to do that, right? How can you create a little plan for yourself around that? Where do you need to allow life to give that to you right now? Let me know in the comments. And yeah, so all that came up because of the full moon. When I was thinking about, Virgo, the Virgin, wholeness, independence, like, what does that mean? How can we apply that in our normal, like, daily life? What does that really look like when you can drop in and receive the nudges and like rely on that you trust yourself so deeply, right? That you can self-source. And of course, there's so much more to that, because when we self-source, we can also self-source our desires, right? Because we can already feel into them. We're self-sourcing the feelings that we want to feel when we have this, when we experience this, when we travel here. Like, we can already self-source those feelings now, right? So that's manifesting part of that. So there's lots of things to this. If you want to, you can definitely journal about this for yourself and what this means for you, right? I'm just sparking this within you so that, you can be inspired. Lastly, my birthday is on Saturday. I have a really fun weekend planned. I'm gonna go to the sauna and then go for a massage, and then I'm gonna go out for dinner. So it's gonna be really fun, and I just want to do nothing. You know what I mean? Drink champagne. I'm turning 30, and so it's like kind of a big deal, turning 30. And my business is officially turning 4. Isn't that so cute? So this month, actually, my business is turning 4. So I want to give you something to celebrate as well, which is why I came up with a flash sale coaching session that you can schedule as of right now. It's only $111. You'll meet with me privately on Zoom, and I'll record the session so that you have it forever. And you can really use that time with me to propel yourself forward to your next step or your next steps, right? I am really good at what I do. I just tooting my own horn, but I'm really good at what I do. Like I can see your next steps. I can see your potential. I can help you get in touch with what you truly desire. And like, even if that's like too big or too out there, I'm really good at breaking it down so simply that you can start doing something towards that today. And so if you like, I feel if you've been feeling stuck or feeling like, feel like nothing's happening, you're wondering why nothing is happening, book this session because you need it apparently. And like, we'll get you out of that for sure. And what else do I want to say about that? Like, if you want to grow and like experience these quantum leaps that you've been wanting to experience for a while, you need to invest in yourself. You cannot get as many results as fast and the true results that you really want to be experiencing by only consuming free content. That's just the way it is. It's bold to say that, but it's true. And I'm offering that to you right now. So, yeah, okay. I put the link to my calendar in the description. You can find a time that works for you, schedule it. You'll receive a confirmation email, you'll receive a receipt, and you'll receive the link to meet on Zoom as well. So I can't wait to fan your flames, be there for you. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Have a beautiful weekend. I'll be back next week. So I'll see you next week for another training. I set the intention to make this a regular weekly thing again. So you can look forward to that. And in the meantime, let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what you thought about this topic. Any other topics that you want me to cover next week, the following weeks. Let me know. I love you all so much. Bye.